Okay, I might be a badass, but there is something wrong with this picture. I am supposed to deliver this huge solar satellite to space using this tiny space plane. How am I supposed to do that? It's time to build a bigger spaceship. Hello YouTube and welcome to What the Math. Today we're doing Kerbal Space Program and we're going to be talking about a historical mission that could have been but never has been. So sometime in the 70s, Jimmy Carter was the president of the United States, if you didn't know. He had an address to the nation where he talked about building a huge solar array of about 50,000 ton or possibly 100,000 ton, orbiting around the planet Earth in the geostationary orbit and essentially transmitting energy back to our planet, specifically to the United States, because in the late 70s, early 90s, US had a huge energy crisis. The economy was in trouble and many things were going wrong. So he proposed putting this huge device into orbit to essentially limit the need for oil and gas and to increase solar energy, or specifically solar energy use. Now, delivering this thing into space was of course the problem. Back then, the only thing they had was space shuttles that had the capacity of delivering anything to space. And the space shuttle only had about 25-ton capacity. It also was very difficult to launch and it was very expensive, so they had to invent something else. And one of the things they proposed was inventing something called a Star Raker. Now, this is the picture of Star Raker from the web. And I'm going to try to recreate this using Kerbal Space, but we're going to be using stock parts. So we're going to try to recreate that using stock. And basically what we're going to do is let's actually just start a completely new spaceship. So we're going to just take the largest possible cockpit. Unfortunately, it already does not look like Star Raker. And we're going to try to make this look like one. So I don't really know what was inside of that thing, but we're going to assume that it essentially had a bunch of cargo modules, so we're just going to attach them in this way. I'm going to put 3. I think 3 is enough. We're not going to put anything inside. This is just so we can kind of test this design and see if it works. And essentially what we're building today is a very, very large SSTO that is meant to represent the potential SSTO we could have had in real life that would have launched these satellites into space and saved the United States from its doom. Now, this was like 35 years ago, and he had some doom prophecies about potentially running out of oil and stuff. And yes, we do have a potential of running out of oil, but it turns out we have a lot more oil than we imagined, so we're still good for another few decades, but we do have to try to come up with something. And today we do have technology to actually come up with an amazing SSTO. I believe the United Kingdom or England is actually developing one that is going to be released relatively soon, within the next few years, but United States doesn't really have one. The closest United States ever came to making an SSTO was when they essentially had this incredible design called Star Raker. So I'm gonna try to make it realistic and let's see what I can achieve. Alright, so this is what I have so far. So we have the 10 ramjets that the actual design had, and this is all based on this paper that you can find on the link I included. Then we have 3 normal engines. There's actually 5 normal engines, but there's no way for us to put these 5 engines there. And even these 3, I actually tested the design. Unfortunately, I need to replace them. I need to put just 1 engine here because these 3 are not powerful enough to take us into orbit. And this is already kind of a problem for this design. It doesn't really have enough power from conventional rocket engines, even though it does have enough power from the ramjets. Then we have the wheels here. I'm thinking of actually, or gears that is, I'm thinking of removing some because even though it kind of looks cool, they are adding a little bit too much weight, so I think I'm just going to leave 1 here. And of course we have our cargo right here. This is our cargo. And I'm also possibly going to put a little bit more fuel because I don't think I had enough fuel in it. Now, another problem I'm facing with this design right now, and this is actually possibly what the real Star Raker would actually have as a problem as well is that because of its weight, because of its size, it's not very stable laterally. So even though it flies really well, as you approach high speeds, it starts going left and right a lot. It starts wobbling like crazy, and it's really easy to lose control. So I'm thinking I'm going to attach side controls, basically side wings right here, just to make it more stable, because as you see on the picture, it's not very, it doesn't look very stable, it doesn't look very efficient. So we're gonna change this just a little bit. And what is that sticking out? Oh, that's just the wing, and well, never mind, ignore that. So let's just change it a little bit to make it a little bit better. One thing I don't like is the nose here, and this looks ridiculously ugly, but even the actual Star Raker head, the design actually had a very sharp nose. So yeah, there we have it. And one thing I forgot to mention is that I used the procedural wings to basically create these wings. I could have used the stock wings, and I did at first, and then I kind of accidentally erased them, and I was too lazy to make them again. So there, I'm sorry for being lazy, but I just kind of made exactly the same shape using procedural wings. There's no difference. You can definitely make the same kind of a design using stock parts, but I'm just being lazy. So here we go. This is my side wing that will support this and make it more stable. I changed this to Skipper, which is actually the most powerful engine of this size I can put on it, on this particular space plane. And I don't think I can actually put anything extra here. So if this doesn't work, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm also going to increase my fuel in every tank to about 100, even though I reduced it initially. And so here we have our ramjet engines with liquid tanks and engine pre-cooler just to increase the efficiency and more air supply. And then we have ram intake just to increase that extreme air intake at higher speeds. So this is kind of what it looks like in the design as well. Only one gear left in the back, one gear in front, and these are heavy gears just because this is a heavy kind of a spaceship. And we have spaceplate tail fin for extra control, and I believe we have something like, what is this, 1,000 and 2,000 here, so maybe something around 4,000 liquid fuel for our Skipper. So this is really pushing it. I'm not sure if I will make it to orbit. Let's try and see, and let's basically test the design. So their design, the ones that they came up with, had 5 little engines here in the back. It had 5 ramjets, and essentially what they were trying to do is reach the altitude of about I think it was about 15 kilometers, then jump down to about 10 kilometers, increasing speed, reaching max speeds, and then jump up again to about 23 kilometers and fire the engine and try to essentially get into orbit. Now I'm not going to do it that way. I'm just going to go straight up, just because I want to see if it even works. And then if we can make it to orbit in this huge machine, we can talk about everything else. Now, there's actually a name for this particular device, or for this particular airplane. They actually called it Air Breather Rocket Powered Horizontal Takeoff Tri-Delta Flying Wing Single Stage to Orbit Transportation System. It's a mouthful, but this is what this design was called. And this is actually, there's an actual technical paper written about this particular space plane. And here we are. Star Raker is ready for takeoff. Valentina Kerman is ready for takeoff. She is... Oh no, she's not ready, she's not ready. I pressed the wrong button. She goes inside. Let's see what it looks like from her side. Okay, she's the only pilot. That's all we need. Hey, this is a cool seat you have there. Alright, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna launch this, see how it flies, see how it goes, and what I've learned and what I suggest to you guys if you're gonna be making these huge devices, or huge airplanes that is that if you pitch too high up, or if you try to do too many really fast turns, or if you go too fast and then suddenly decide to turn, these things go crazy and they lose control really easily. They start wobbling around, even if everything else is balanced. So I'm gonna do this really gently. I'm gonna do this really slowly. I'm going to take off, give myself just a little bit of inclination, maybe about 15% max, and then let's take off first. At 100 meters per second, we're gonna try to take off really gently, not pushing it too hard. There we go. Too much. Okay, here we go. Stabilize. Engine going. I think engines are pushing too hard, so we're gonna slow down the engine, gear up, and let's try to... No, don't go down. Go up. Oh my god, it's so unstable. Look at how unstable it is. This is what I mean by flying large airplanes. Okay, let's see if we can do this. And looks like, just like every professional Kerbal, I was able to kind of get control of the airplane, but I obviously lost a lot of fuel. Well, nevertheless, we're gonna continue our mission. Let's try to finally get into that needed position of 90 degrees, 15% inclination. There we go. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you go right. You go right. There. Flight demo. Flight. Here we go. Okay, excellent. So now we just have to wait until we get to higher altitude. So it looks like we're flying really stable now. The speed is about 208 meters per second. We just passed the clouds. We're at almost 6 kilometers up in the air, and we have a really nice inclination. So if everything goes fine, we'll be able to increase our speed, or basically blast our engines right around 10 kilometer mark, which will accelerate this airplane. And if we are lucky, we can get about 900 meters per second just on the ramjets, and then we'll blast this whatchamacallit, skipper engine, and it will take us to orbit. This is obviously theory. In practice, and judging by the fact that this is Kerbal Space Program, things will most likely go wrong, will most likely crash, and will probably end up in the water. Let's see how this goes. Either way, Valentina Kerman is going to be really, really happy lady today. Alright, full speed ahead. So now all we need to do is wait for ramjets to start losing TWR, and that's when we will enable this engine, so that we actually go into space without losing too much speed. And around 17 kilometers, the efficiencies of my engine started to drop dramatically. I am almost at 900 meters per second. Here we go, just crossed 900 meters per second, which is really, really, really good. It means that we are possibly making it to orbit, but I don't want to jinx it because things can still go wrong. The TWR started dropping, meaning that I'm going to start losing velocity very soon, just about now. There we go. And this is when I should probably enable my engine here. Alright, and go. And now we're going to enable all of these things and try to make it to orbit. These guys are about to turn off any second. And at this point, it's going to be all up to my little tiny liquid skipper. If you can see the TWR here, it's only 0.66, meaning that it's very, very, very inefficient, or not as powerful as it should be in order for us to actually go directly up and leave Kerbal. So we have to try to aim for about 20 to 30 degrees so that we can actually both acquire altitude and speed needed for us to maintain orbit. I'm desperately trying to increase my apoapsis to at least 70 kilometers. My apoapsis ETA is decreasing slowly, but it's decreasing. There's 28 seconds left. But you know what? We might make it. We might actually make it. Even though I'm already kind of not sure if this design even works, we might make it if we try really, really hard, and if we go at just the right angle, right between maybe 20 and 30 degrees, we should be able to just make it. And looks like, okay, and we just dropped below 1000 delta V, but our orbital speed is 1600 meters per second. Okay, so apoapsis start to increase. This is a good sign. This means that we might make it to orbit after all, if we have enough fuel. I can now actually start pushing a little bit lower and try to get as much lateral velocity as possible. Also need to disable my temperature gauges because things are heating up really, really fast. Almost there. I'm gonna aim for 72 at least. 68, 69. Oh, sweet. Look at that. 72. And stop engines here. We have 355 delta V left. Right around this area, we're going to increase. And according to my calculations, I will need about 254 delta V. We might make it after all. We might actually make it to lower Earth or low Kerbal orbit But unfortunately, this doesn't look like a good design to get to do a geosynchronous orbit, which obviously requires a lot more, or not a lot, but slightly more delta V, possibly 500 more delta V than I currently have. So all in all, this is a crazy design. I'm not sure if it actually would work in real life. And because of its size, it's actually kind of dangerous to fly. I've crashed this at least 3 times, which you didn't actually see in the video. I didn't crash it, but it just kind of, I lost control and it went haywire on me, went sliding up and down, and unfortunately it wasn't really a good spaceship to control. But you know what? For my first attempt of building Star Raker, or essentially a huge delivery system for payloads, and this is not too bad. So let's just finalize our orbit and see if we can actually stay in here. Alright, this looks like a success. 71 kilometers periapsis, 73 apoapsis. So we definitely reach lower Kerbal orbit, LKO, but we might not be able to reach higher orbit because we only have, how much do we have left? Let's see. So both of these tanks are empty. This tank has just a little bit left. It doesn't actually show how much, but I'm guessing it is somewhere around 100 delta V, 100 meters per second delta V, meaning that it's enough for us to deorbit, and we still have quite a lot of liquid fuel left here to possibly make it back somewhere, to land somewhere, but it's definitely not enough to get into higher orbit, or specifically geosynchronous orbit. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna try to land this. Well, actually, first of all, let's open this up, pretend we actually delivered something, and obviously this is empty. If we actually have more cargo in here, if we have more weight, we might not even make it to any orbit. So obviously there's that problem as well. And now we delivered our payload. We're gonna go for a little bit of EVA, just because this is the first time we've launched such a huge SSTO. That let's actually explore it from the outside. Let's see what it looks like. And look at the size of that thing. It is huge. It is bigger than Space Shuttle. It's bigger than any other ship we've launched so far. And you can kind of see some parts are red. That's because they got overheated on the way up. In our case, we don't have any heat shields. This is basically just a normal plane-like design, meaning that we might be in trouble. We might actually overheat and some things might get destroyed, and we might not even be able to re-enter. So what we're going to do is we're going to decelerate. We're going to use up all of our liquid fuel and oxidizer right here at apoapsis. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to re-enter using one strategy I know sometimes works for me, but not always. And let's blast our engines a little bit, not too much, because we don't want to have a very low periapsis. Okay, good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to wait for the time when we get here, or basically we'll just enter the atmosphere. We're just going to wait for us to enter the atmosphere. And at this point, I also may want to shut down this engine because we don't really need it anymore. Okay, so we've just entered atmosphere. And now we're just going to basically, I call this pancake re-entry. We're going to fly essentially like this. And once in a while, we're going to switch sides if one side gets overheated. It doesn't always work. It's not the best method in the world, but it does have the highest rate of re-entries in my case. I've done this many times with different SSTO designs, and almost always this succeeds. Now, the reason why this does work really well is because in higher altitude, obviously the air pressure is not very high yet, so you're not going to overheat too much. And we're going to be actually looking at heat right here. It shows you the critical temperature. And while you're above 30 kilometers, you're not going to really lose any parts if they start overheating, because air pressure is still quite low, so the hottest temperature is not going to be too high. But you are essentially flying face toward the wind, so you're slowing down just like a sail would. So this is like a sail-like structure, and all of this air is hitting everything, all of the surface, and essentially is slowing you down dramatically. So you'll see as soon as we are below 67, this speed is going to start decreasing. Not a lot, but it's going to increase or decrease more and more as we go lower and lower. And you can see right here, my periapsis actually is decreasing because of all of this air hitting me. It's already at 56, it's going to keep going lower and lower, and this is how I can tell that this is actually working. So this is how I usually re-enter in SSTOs. Have not found a better way. I mean, obviously, if you're facing engine first, it does work as well, but not all designs work with that particular strategy, because some designs are really nose heavy, so they'll actually start flipping over if you try to fly engine first. With rockets, it works really well usually, but with SSTOs, it doesn't. And this is what it looks like from the back and from the front. So basically, we're doing what Shadow shouldn't even be doing. We're flying perpendicular to our velocity vector, or not perpendicular enough yet. We need to maybe put the nose down a little bit more, just to kind of decrease speed as much as possible before we get into the really, really hot lower atmosphere. All right, I'm going to switch to the other side just to possibly decrease pressure from some of the upper parts here. And there we go. Nicely done. So now we're doing the same thing, but on the opposite side. So this is what I usually do. I just kind of wobble back and forth and try to expose as much surface area. Oh, here we go. Here comes fire. As much surface area to air as I can without really destroying anything. And as you can see, my orbital velocity is decreasing dramatically now, even though I'm still above 30 kilometers in altitude. As long as I do this over and over, nothing will explode. I'm at 67%. Okay, need to start being a little bit more careful. All right, excellent. So we just dropped below 1300 meters per second. I can now aim toward prograde and try to stabilize my angle of descent. Now this is the hard part. Usually the ship starts wobbling like crazy and I lose control because there's really nothing I can do about such a huge ship. There we go. That's what I was afraid. I'm gonna still try to aim toward the prograde, but essentially I have re-entered safely without anything being destroyed or anything getting too hot. So now we're stalling, and this is the second hardest part. If you're stalling, try to aim down and try to essentially increase your speed toward whatever vector you can find, essentially. And just below 10 kilometers, it's usually quite easy to regain control. I'm gonna try to aim for land right there if I can and glide toward it, and also enable my engines just a little bit so I can actually try to land on land this time, not in the water. Let's just try to line up ourselves, and here we go. Yay, we're flying. We got control, we got engines running. Excellent. So now let's go to land somewhere, anywhere. I don't know if we're close to, I don't think we're close to anything, but there is some land here. We're gonna try to get there. And so we're approaching some sort of island here, or something that looks like an island, but I don't see any landing paths or anything that's flat enough for us to land. So we're gonna try our luck until the fuel runs out. We still have about over 380 fuel left, which means we can fly for maybe a few minutes. If I don't find anything, I'll just try to land somewhere. Alright, we only have about something like 50-ish fuel left. I'm aiming for this spot right here, releasing gear, getting ready for landing, and let's try to slowly descend and make this as safe as possible, because safety is our priority, right, Valentina Corman? That's right. Okay, so all I need to do is gently touch down, and I have to be watching this altitude, not this altitude. Uh-oh, that is not a good sign. That means I'm out of fuel. No more liquid fuel left. We're just going to be gliding now like a real shuttle. Yay. Okay, where can I land? This is not flat enough, I think. but I have no choice. Oh, here comes my shadow. Here comes my shadow. Here comes my shadow. Let's try to gently put it down. Gear, bottom gear first. I mean, rear gear first. And 1, 2, and boom. And slow down, slow down. Brake, 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 brake it. Brake it, I tell you. Okay, we're not slowing down. We're not slowing down at all. We're still flying. We're still flying. Oh, so much stress here. Anxiety. Panic attack. Oh, she's so happy. Look at that face. Okay, we're slowing down really slowly. And it looks like this is a successful mission to space and back from space. I have no idea where I am, but you know what? That's not important because we have survived. The ship is in one piece and we have landed successfully back on Kerbal. So essentially this was my first attempt of launching a large plane like SSTO, and this is based on a real design called Star Raker by, I guess, NASA or United States in general. Let's get out, plant the flag, and finish the mission. Mission success. Star Raker complete. Hey, where are you going? Hold on a second. Where are you going? Come back. I need to... Oh, I can't even get up anymore. No. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you'll subscribe or will like this video and or both. Thank you and game you later. Bye-bye. This thing is so huge. I love it.